Hi, it's Monday, the 14th of October, and we're here to look at the daily astrology, the chart for today. And I thought we'd look at also a couple of the goddesses, the planet goddesses. So let's just share this chart. So there we are. Right, let's just have a quick recap as well. I did talk about these events coming up just before the weekend, but we're here now. So the sun is at 21 degrees of Libra, and in a couple of days, well, actually in one day because it's 2150. So in a day we'll be conjunct Juno, the asteroid, and then across here at 21 we've got Chiron. So we've got an exact Chiron Sun opposition, and the other planet here, Eris, is at 24. Not too far away. The moon is coming round through Pisces and will get into Aries to oppose the sun in a couple of days for the full moon. When it does, everything will be at 24 at once. But anyway, we can look at that when we get, well, tomorrow probably. I want to pick out for today two of the goddesses which are involved in the upcoming full moon. And I want to give some time to their mythology because we don't get time as a rule really to look deeply into the background and the mythology behind these planets. So let's take time out today when we have got time to cover this so that we can get some background to our astrological understanding. And what better time than the time when Eris is actually opposite Juno? So what I want to do is look at the difference between these two. Is there a difference between Juno and Eris? Now, there is a difference in terms of their position in the solar system because Juno is in the asteroid belt, not too far away from us by comparison. But Eris is right out in the Kuiper Belt, which is also far away and was only recently discovered this century. Okay, both of them are named after Greek goddesses. So let's just look at the mythology behind them because both really could be said to be troublemakers. So, where shall we start? We'll start with Eris, I think. Eris was really a surprise naming by Mike Brown, the discoverer of most of the dwarf planets. He tended to pick the names from indigenous tribes all around the world and didn't want to carry on the usual astronomical theme of picking Greek or Roman goddesses and gods and for their planets. Eris, he continued the practice that had always happened. After that, he broke free of it and he picked deities from all over the world, which was great because that in itself gave us a clue about how we were being opened up to a tunnel vision, that we were being introduced to energies on the fringe, maverick energies on the outside of mainstream society, which is great because at the same time we also started to consider diversity and those in diverse situations and make everything more inclusive. So LGBT plus, for instance, we began to be more accepting of those who were different to mainstream. And actually, if you think about people who consider themselves as outsiders, then isn't it funny that these planets were named to represent people are outside of the mainstream thinking, when the actual Kuiper belt, which houses them, is also outside of the main solar system. It is so far away, it's not part of the main group. It just seems, I suppose Mike Brown had that in mind, but okay, so looking at Eris, who did follow the normal protocols and was named after a Greek goddess. One actually that is mentioned a lot by Homer. No, Hesiod, sorry, not Homer, Hesiod. Okay, so Eris represents, on the surface, disputes and brawls and difficulties and challenges. There's many different titles to her, and some of them are quite sort of really. So we get pain and murder and carnage and brawls and deceit and lawlessness. Lawlessness is interesting because I think of Xena, the princess warrior, as being much like Eris's personality, mainly because Mike Brown gave the planet the nickname of Xena when she was first discovered, so they all knew which planet they were talking about. And Xena, the Princess Warrior, of course, was a series on TV, and it was played by the actual Xena was played by Lucy Lawless, and Lawless was her actual married name. And here we have Eris Lawlessness. Just, okay, things are really strange when they do that. It always makes me giggle. So I think one of the main things to say about Eris is that we're looking at fire. And we're looking at the fire and the movement and the excitability, basically, of quantum physics. As we started to understand quantum physics more, and we looked at the chaos and the energy involved in the particles, then we were looking at this very strong energy, a weird excitation, a vibration to energy that made up the parts of an atom. And so this very excitability of energy is more probably describes Eris than anything else. So when it comes to Eris, there is an enormous amount of movement, and this allows itself to be to be pretty chaotic, to the point that it gets a bad name, because if it grabs a hold of somebody, it does get them involved with a brawl or carnage or huge rows or extreme jealousy or revenge. So really it's trying to contain that energy and channel it into something more purposeful, which could be useful. Now, if we think about the energy of particle physics, then we are looking at some laws which are universal. So the laws of thermal dynamics, for instance, which says that energy can either be created nor dissipated. It cannot be gone, doesn't disappear. It can only be converted. And so looking at that, there is a potential with Eris to convert the energy. It's not for certain that you're going to get the brawls and the carnage and the murder. There is a potential for something much more productive to come out of Eris. But caught unawares by people who don't study astrology and don't know this, Eris does tend to bring an enormous amount of spitefulness, as I say, revenge, and it can all get pretty pretty torrid. So we need to know how to avoid that. Okay, then this should make sense. So if you know about this, then what you could do is you can take the upheaval that you feel inside and have a determination to seek justice and to work hard to get through those feelings. Now, the main thing that you feel when you've got Eris grabbing a hold of you is actually to kill. You want to jump on their chest and bang their head up and down on the floor. And that's how it makes you feel. But we're told by Hesiod that this is just a waste of time and that would be a lot better off if we channeled the energy into labor. Now, this can be said of fire energy in any case. If you are enthused with Mars energy, and by the way, Mars, Ares, is the sister or companion of Eris in myth, both the same. So if Mars energy is grabbing a hold of us, then it is true that the only way to get rid of that is to get the energy to run through the muscles, use the muscles, and they will burn up the energy. So get out there and dig your garden, wash your car, do anything energetic really. And it will play a useful role in calming everything down. So the good side of Eris is very much to do with labor, which will help dissipate the energy, but also justice. There is a part of Eris's nature which, if channeled and looked upon and dealt with in the right way, can lead to a very particular natural justice. Now, this is a bit like the manna and taboo that we find in Polynesia. So things were taboo, they were not allowed by the deity. Manna was a gift. So you get this, oh, this is good and this is bad. And people were guided by this, and it was useful and helpful for society. So with Eris, we get the same sort of this manna and taboo thing. Serious and purposeful action is the main point, really. Now, if then you are confronted with or can sense that Eris is reacting in your life one way or another, then the best thing to do is to labor, pull away from whatever it is that is causing all the chaos. Separate from it, even if you would love to go back and punch somebody or do something of seemingly equal nature so that you get your own back. Don't. That's what Hesiod is saying. Pull away and use that energy to push yourself forward, to get away from the pack and get ahead of the pack. And apparently this is best use. There is also, with Eris, a suggestion that law and correctly, law dealt with correctly. So when you don't perjure, lie, when you treat law respectfully, when you follow the rule of law, the word is that then Eris is pleased by this, because she's involved with a natural justice. There is something of a, okay, well, let natural justice take its course. And as long as everybody is acting according to natural justice or the justice of society, those laws that have been passed by people chosen to do such things, then that too can be more of a peaceful Eris thing. Okay. So one thing I can say personally, when you've got Eris involved, is it takes a heck of a lot to control the energy. But surprisingly, if you apply those two things, my goodness, it actually works. You know, you do pull ahead and you are given an extra oomph and boost of energy, which does take you to places that otherwise you wouldn't have gone to. And to be honest, if you look at quantum physics, then yeah, it's easy to see how that can power something that will take you into a better place. So now that's all that's done about Eris. Oh, I've forgotten to just tell you the myth. So in myth, Eris is left out of a celebration. And everybody else on Olympus is invited, but she's left out. And when she finds out, she writes on an apple, a golden apple, the words "for the fairest of all." And she arrives uninvited at the celebrations and throws the apple in between three goddesses talking. And each thinks that they are the fairest of all, and so there's a bit of a hoo-ha there, causes a problem. And Zeus is asked to intervene, and there's no way he's going to choose which one is the fairest between Aphrodite and Juno and Athena. No way, because they're like, what will the other two do? Now, there's the situation. Eris energy is likely to emerge in that situation. So he does the sensible thing. He hands it over to somebody else to decide and rules that they must decide. And so it's sort of like giving it to a court of law, I suppose. Anyway, that's a short form of the myth, but that's where Eris's stuff comes from. Juno, on the other hand, was Hera, her Greek name, wife of Zeus. And there is less sophistication about Juno's particular symbolism or representation. She is, I think, representative of the matriarchy or the feminine, which was fast losing power at that time. There wasn't a fairness in society with regard to male and female human beings, for instance. Females were very much denigrated and very much, I think they were level with a slave by the time we got to Rome. So before then, there was a real acceptance of feminine energy, yin energy, matriarchy, as being at least equal or perhaps even of greater power than the masculine. We can see this in Egypt when we see their appreciation of the goddess Nut, the sky goddess. For them, the earth was masculine, Geb. The sky was the mighty, all-powerful Nut. And that the women in society were seen as equals. Now, so just to cut that short, what I'm saying is that way of living didn't last, and patriarchy took over, courtesy of I suppose the Greeks. There was a whole mishmash of things going on at that time in the Eastern Mediterranean area, and I think there in Juno there is symbolism around that, the reduction of the feminine, the reduction of the matriarchy in hierarchy. So there is a real boiling annoyance and hatred inside Juno concerning these matters, that she was forced to succumb to a marriage to Zeus. He gets to rule, she is his subordinate. He gets to run around and chase after all the other goddesses and human females. And this is something that obviously she abhors and she's very distressed by, because she just wants to have a normal marriage. After all, she's already had to be put up with the fact that, she was forced into it. Probably not forced into it, but might have been at the time forced into it. They had their good times and then they had their bad times. But anyway, so it's really about how Juno suffered in that marriage and how she despised the human race, because Zeus was always chasing after the females and bedding them. And this was obviously intolerable. She just couldn't take all this. So she particularly hated humans. Now she represents relationship and all types of relationship, going right from bad ones to good ones, right from first meeting somebody through romance and sex and all the fabulous stuff into the brawls and the carnage, and the divorce papers. So she can be very beguiling and very enticing. And certainly she had Zeus bewitched at certain times, but she can also be, when it comes to humans, a real, well, what shall we say, a very challenging and difficult energy, because she really is no fan. So if we get these two opposite each other in the sky as we have now, it's difficult really to pick between them in terms of what is the outcome. I think probably, certainly, we will all feel a little bit tetchy inside and find ourselves being a little bit brusque or a little bit offhand with people or a little bit short-tongued. And I think that's only natural when you consider the power that is on one side and on the other. I mean, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place as far as that's concerned. Both represent feminine energy, bitter feminine energy at that. Both are capable of atrocities. And so trying to sort of like keep that energy balanced, and not express it is extremely difficult. So I expect there'll be people that find that they can't not express it, that it is expressed. Wrap all that up with a full moon, which exposes everything. And I think we've got we've got Chiron in there as well. And anyway, it's oops. However, anyway, so there we go. What I've done there is I've really explained about those two energies whilst we got the opportunity to do some learning. And great stuff. Pack that away in your brain, remember it. And then when it comes to looking at a chart, you'll know what you're looking at, won't you? Well, it's been great to talk to you, and I'm now going to say goodbye, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Have a good week. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.